Can I announce the results for the Senate? On the part of the Senate, 14 senators in the affirmative, 4 in the negative, and no one abstained.
Mr. President, may I request recognition to explain my vote?
I think we should allow the House to conduct their voting first.
Can we? The Senate has finished its voting, and I think it's under our rules. We can explain our vote after the vote has been announced for the Senate.
We have different rules for the joint session, and Section 14 says that after the conclusion of voting, then we can have explanation of vote.
Well, our rules are supplementary to the rules of the joint session, and our rules allow us to explain our vote after the vote has been taken.
Only if there is no specific rule governing the situation, then we go to our rules for a supplementary rule, Minority Leader.
Anyway,
just a request that we allow the House, and then we will go to the explanation of vote.
Mr. President, I with much regret, I cannot accept the ruling that we cannot explain our vote now.
So,
Mr. President, may I answer and cite the rule?
yes, go ahead, Majority Leader.
Section 13, Rule 8 says, voting on the motion to further extend the period of the proclamation of martial law and the suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. Section 13 states, the Secretary of the Senate and the Secretary General of the House of Representatives shall alphabetically call the names of members of the Senate and the House of Representatives present, respectively, who shall answer aye or nay upon being called. Section 14. After the conclusion of voting, the Senate President and the Speaker of the House shall forthwith announce the results of the voting. Thereafter, any member of Congress who wishes to explain her vote may consume a maximum of 1 minute. So it's after the voting that the results of the voting are announced that we allow explanation of votes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is the Minority Leader satisfied also? Okay, the House it's the time of the House.
The Secretary General of the House of Representatives shall now call the roll for nominal voting.
Roll call of members for nominal voting. Honorable Representatives Abaya, Abayon, Abellanosa, Abueg, Asharon, Akop, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Adbincula, Agaraw, Agabaw, Aglipay Bilyar, Albano, Alcala, Alejano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Mercedes, Amante, Amatong, Andaya, Angara Castillo, Antonino, Antonio, Aquino Magsaysay, Aragones, Arbison, Arcillas, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bag-aw, Bagatsing, Bagilat, Banal, Barbers, Barsaga, Batawil, Batocabe, Bautista Bandigan, Belaro, Belmonte Feliciano, Belmonte Jose Christopher, Belmonte Ricardo, Benitez, Bernos, Bertiz, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo Anthony, Bravo Maria Vida, Brosas,
My vote is no. May I reserve the right to explain my vote later?
Bulot Begtang, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto Robiano, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kari, Hasilaw,
My vote is no, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to reserve my
Castelo, Castro Franz,
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I reserve my right to explain my vote later.
Castro Pred, Catamco, Cayetano, Celeste, Serafica, Chariles, Chavez, Chipeco, Coanco, Colliantes, Cortés, Cortuna, Cosalan, Crisólogo, Cua, Cuaresma, Cueva, Dalipe, Datol, Daza, De Jesus,
Ang boto ko po ay no, and I reserve my right to explain my vote later.
De Venecia, De Vera, Defensor, Del Mar,
My vote is no and reserve the right to explain my vote later.
Del Rosario, Del Oso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Muhammad, Duabit, Durano, D, Elago,
My vote is no, and I reserve my right to explain my vote later. Thank you.
Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Eusebio, Ebardone, Fariñas, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Feriol, Florendo, Flores, Fortuno, Fuentebella, Garbin, Garcia Gwendolyn, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Albano, Garin Oscar, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Heron, Go Ana Cristina, Go Mark, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Aurelio Dong, Gonzales Fernando, Goriseta, Gulyas, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hopper, Alosjos, Javier, Ko, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagman,
Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, I vote no, and I reserve my right to explain my vote later.
Lanete, Laugan, Lazatin, Leachon, Lee, Lim Kaishong, Lobregat, Lopez Benhar, Lopez Carlo, Lopez Manuel, Loyola, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manalo, Mangawang, Mangudadato Suharto, Mangudadato Zahid, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matugas, Meliana, Mending, Mendoza, Mercado, Mirasol, Montoro, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Carlo, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Oaminal, Ocampo, Olivares, Ong Edwin, Ong Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Bininola, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicia Sagabas, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Rebilla, Roa Puno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Romualdo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sahali, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar Mary, Sabelliano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, C. Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelin, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Cherny, Tejada, Tebes, Tiangco, Ting, Tinyo.
Speaker, ang boto ko ay no at magpapaliwanag po ako ng boto pagkatapos.
Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, T, Umali, Unavia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Uy Barreta, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velarde, Velasco, Velasco Jatera, Veloso, Vergara, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villarin.
Mr. Speaker, I vote no and will reserve my right to explain my vote later. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Biolago, Yap Arthur, Yap Melesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Sarate,
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I will explain in accordance with our rules.
Subiri. Second call for nominal voting, Honorable Representatives Abel Llanosa, Abueg, Aglipay Villar, Albano, Alcala, Amatong, Andaya, Angara Castillo, Antonio, Aumentado, Barbers, Barsaga, Batocabe, Belmonte Ricardo, Cagas, Calixto Robiano, Cari, Castelo, Celeste, Cosalan, Cua, Del Rosario, Escudero, Eusebio, Ferrer Juliet, Flores, Gomez, Goriseta, Javier, Lim Kaishong, Macapagal Arroyo, Mariño, Mendoza, Nograles Jericho, Oaminal, Panotes, Ramirez Sato, Relámpagos, Revilla, Rocamora, Rodríguez Isidro, Romero, Romualdez, Sarmiento Cesar, C. Alvarado, Tupas, Umali, Uy Juliet, Villarraza Suarez, Zamora Ronaldo. The Speaker, your vote is? Yes, Speaker.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader,
You're not done.
let's take advantage of the lull
The
before
lull.
they announce the House results. Yes, sir?
Well, it was just to ask if it's possible for a second call of those senators who were not able to vote.
Yes.
But after they finish, Mr.
After the House announces the results.
On the part of the House of Representatives, 226 members voted in the affirmative, 23 negative, and 0 abstentions.
Majority Leader, what's your pleasure?
Mr. President, may we have a second call on those who were not able to vote in as much as this is a joint session, and we can call for a second call, Mr. President.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, with all due respect to the Majority Leader, the vote of the Senate has been announced. And the vote results said 14 for and 4 against. I am not aware of any procedure in the Senate or in the joint session after the vote has been announced that we will revise it in order to allow another voting. Because under that, then when do we consider the vote as final? When do we consider the vote as final? For that reason.
May we just ask how many of our colleagues, Majority Leader, are affected? Just for the information of everybody.
There are two who were not
senators.
able to vote but were on the side of the plenary hall, that was Senator Escudero and Senator Villar. But Senator Escudero will not insist if the Minority Leader is questioning it. Never mind, Mr. President. I know that Senator Escudero and Senator Villar will vote yes anyway, so if they were allowed to vote, they would have voted yes. That's all, Mr. President. Let's go on.
So 14. Okay, so Ako na. Okay, so the results of the joint voting of the members of the Congress on the motion show that 240 voted in the affirmative, 27 negative votes, and 0 abstentions.
Pursuant to the Constitution and the rules of the joint session, the motion to further extend the proclamation of martial law and the suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is hereby approved by the Congress of the Republic of the Philippines.
Mr. President, may we recognize the Minority Leader to explain his vote?
The Minority Leader of the Senate is recognized to explain his vote.
Mr. President, I am just submitting, for the sake of time, a written explanation of my negative vote, and I will submit this as part of the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Senator Pangilinan.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I be allowed to explain my vote?
You have 1 minute, sir.
Maybe a minute and a half.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, all of us here, public officers and employees, including members of the armed forces, before embarking on a life of public service, took a solemn oath, and I quote, to uphold and defend the Constitution, to bear true faith and allegiance to it. Taimtim tayong nanumpa na matapat nating ipagkakaloob sa abot nating kakayahan na itaguyod at ipagtanggol ang saligang batas na magkakaroon ng totoong pananampalataya at katapatan dito. Pinag-isa tayo ng saligang batas sa ating pagiging lingkod bayan. Gaano kasagrado ang ating sinumpaang mga tungkulin sa bayan? Our troops have protected and defended us, know this sacred duty. They know this when they leave their homes to fight in battle. Many have paid with their limbs and lives for this adherence to the Constitution. Ano ang sinasabi ng saligang batas tungkol sa martial law? Article 7, Section 18 of the Constitution states, upon the initiative of the President, the Congress may in the same manner extend such proclamation or suspension for a period to be determined by Congress, if the invasion or rebellion shall persist and public safety requires it. Wala na hong aktwal na rebellion. Hindi kailangan para sa kaligtasan ng bayan. The threat that terrorists and rebels pose is not a basis for an extension of military rule in Mindanao. The same provision of the Constitution gives the President a limited power not exceeding 60 days to suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus or place the Philippines and any part thereof under martial law. Again, as provided by the same Constitution, we all swore to uphold. Congress gave the President a 6-month extension while the battle was ongoing. Now here we are again to discuss the President's request to extend it by 1 year, and on what grounds? We submit the grounds do not exist to merit such an extension. Walang aktwal na rebellion, hindi kailangan para sa kaligtasan ng bayan. The Constitution which we all public officers and employees swore to uphold and defend gives actual rebellion or invasion as the only justification for the declaration of martial law. The extreme power of martial law for a period of 1 year in any part of the country without actual rebellion but merely a threat was never intended by our framers. In fact, our framers amended the section of martial law and removed the provision or imminent danger thereof in the 1935 and 1973 Constitution. Martial law is an extreme measure and should never be resorted to except in extreme circumstances. Bilang mga lingkod bayan, hindi lang natin isinasantabi ang ating sagradong tungkulin na itaguyod at ipagtanggol ang saligang batas. Mukhang lalabagin pa natin at palalawakin pa. For us to go after terrorists and those who disregard our laws, we must do so consistent with the rule of law and the Constitution. Otherwise, we find ourselves in the danger of becoming lawbreakers or disregarding the rule of law. And I quote, we become the monsters, the danger of becoming the monsters we seek to defeat. We understand that martial law in Mindanao is popular in many areas on the ground, but its declaration, whether popular or not, must be based on the Constitution. It was earlier expressed that the imposition of martial law is an exercise of political will by the executive. We have no problem with the exercise of political will for as long as this will does not supplant the sovereign will of the people as expressed in the Constitution. Our oath is not merely words. Our oath is a sacred act of commitment of office and duty that binds us, public servants, to our nation and our people. Taimtim tayo nanumpa na matapat nating ipagkaloob sa abot ng ating kakayahan na itaguyod at ipagtanggol ang saligang batas na magkakaroon ng totoong pananampalataya at katapatan dito. It is with regret that I say that the grant of martial law extension without actual rebellion for the period of 1 year, a wholesale period of 1 year, is not only contrary to the Constitution, it is an abdication of our sacred duty and the surrendering of our power as Congress to act as a check and balance on the executive branch. In closing, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, this representation was a student activist in the early 80s who stood up against martial law and authoritarian rule. I must admit, I never thought the day would come again that martial law would be imposed on our nation. We fought martial law then, and I can say we did not fight martial law in my youth for us today to reimpose it on our people and our nation. The struggle to uphold our Constitution, the rule of law, and our democracy continues. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader. Senator Antiveros is recognized. You have 1 minute, Senator Antiveros.
Mr. President, 6 months ago, I voted no to President's request to Congress to extend the declaration of martial law in Mindanao. I voted no because the President failed to provide any evidence that martial law offers any distinct strategic advantage to our brave soldiers and police personnel in their fight against the mounted terrorists. It brought no added military, logistical, or legal value to the government's campaign against terrorism. Today, the President again requested Congress to extend the declaration of martial law in Mindanao using the same arguments. Only this time, he included the so-called threat of the New People's Army as one of the key reasons. Kailangan ba ang martial law para tugunan ang di umanong banta ng NPA? Why would the government use martial law against an armed non-state group which it itself described as a spent force? Mr. President, martial law will not address the NPA's abuses. Quite the opposite, martial law will only revive a spent force. I'm also shocked, Mr. President, that the executive today said that public safety is an abstract idea and martial law is a flexible concept which allows the president to do flexible things like suppress freedom of assembly, etc. This is more than appalling. This is exactly the kind of thinking that plunged our country into darkness decades ago. And this is the kind of thinking that the present Constitution seeks to correct. May I remind the executive that Section 18, Article 7 of the Constitution states that a state of martial law does not suspend the operation of the Constitution. The Bill of Rights is still in force. I understand the need to address the unwarranted violence of armed non-state actors, particularly the abuses of the NPA against unarmed civilians and military personnel. My party, Akbayan, and I are not unfamiliar with them. Many of my party leaders and members have been included in the NPA's hit list, harassed, and even murdered for the simple reason that we hold a different ideological point of view from them. I know the desperation of the public longing for peace and security. But martial law is not the solution. It's not a silver bullet nor a quick fix for all of our social ills. It will not bring us nearer to peace. What is needed is for the Philippine government and the National Democratic Front to fully implement the Comprehensive Agreement on Respect for Human Rights and International Humanitarian Law. Si Secretary Lorenzana na mismo ang umamin kanina na noong panahon ng peace talks, nagkaroon ng de-escalation of violence. I challenge both the President and the leaders of the CPP-NPA to choose peace. Sobra na ang karahasan at pagdanak ng dugo sa ating lansangan. Buhat ng araw-araw na patayan at kaso ng extrajudicial killings, huwag na nilang dagdagan pa. I'm wrapping up, Mr. President.
Thank you.
It's true that martial law is enshrined in our Constitution. However, it must be exercised only in the most exigent of circumstances as a last resort and by a government that would wield it judiciously. Imposing martial law every time there's a skirmish or to create an illusory psychological effect defeats the constitutional principle that civilian authority is at all times supreme over the military. And in the hands of a government that thinks that martial law is flexible and public safety is an abstract concept, we could only be asking for trouble. For these reasons, Mr. President, I voted no to once again extending the declaration of martial law in Mindanao. Salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Tiberos.
On the part of the House of Representatives, before I recognize the members of the House who will explain their vote, may I remind that you have only 1 minute to explain your vote. May I recognize Representative Bagao to explain her vote.
Mr. Speaker, Representatives Acharon and Representatives Catampo yielded their allotted time to this representation in accordance with Section 13, Rule 8 of our rules. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ginoong Speaker, mga kasama, isa po ako sa mga boses ng Mindanao sa Kongresong ito. At sa kasalukuyan po ay hindi pa rin naipapakita ang patunay na nababalot ng terorismo ang kabuuan ng Mindanao. Ang pagdedeklara ng martial law sa lahat ng probinsya nito ay isang malaking hakbang na paatras mula sa matagal nang inaasam na kapayapaan at kaunlaran ng mga mamamayan. Oo, kinikilala natin na dapat sugpuin ang terorismo, pero kailangan nating pagnilay-nilayan ng mas mabuti. Batas militar nga ba ang sagot sa problemang ito? The Battle of Marawi has already been won by government forces at dahil dito, nais ko na rin samantalahin ang pagkakataong makapagsalita upang bigyan ng pagpupugay ang ating dakilang mga sundalo. I salute our valiant soldiers for their victory.
Representative Bagao.
Mr. Speaker, Congressman Acharon and Congresswoman Catampo has yielded their allotted time based in accordance with Section 14, Rule 8. I am allowed to speak for 3 minutes, Mr. Speaker. and we are grateful for the services of our soldiers. However, the larger war against terrorism will not be ended with martial law as the sole solution. Our soldiers deserve a better strategy to carry out their duty to protect our citizens. Citizens in Mindanao have been greatly affected by the conflict. Sa ngayon, merong higit na 350,000 internally displaced persons nang dahil sa kaguluhan sa Marawi. At ayon sa DSWD, higit sa 70,000 pamilya ang nawalay mula sa kanilang tahanan. Marami nang namatay mula sa parehong hanay ng sibilyan at militar. Hindi lang dapat ang paglaban sa mga terorista ang pagtuunan ng pansin ng pamahalaan. Kasama dapat sa isipan natin ang mga mamamayang naapektuhan ng hidwaan. The war against terror, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, isn't simply about fighting fire with fire. We do not match terror with another terror. The war against terror is a complex problem that needs a comprehensive response. And hastily reimposing martial law is far from being the comprehensive response that we need from this government. We do not need martial law in Mindanao. We need better military intelligence. We need quicker military response. We need active citizenship in our communities. We need to institute structural reforms. We need a strategic response and not just be comfortable with the shortcuts offered by martial law and the shrinking of democratic and political rights of citizens of Filipinos in Mindanao. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, all of these necessities, I strongly believe are not equivalent to simply continuing martial law. Dahil po dito, Ginoong Speaker, mga kasama, ang boto ko po ay no sa pagpapatuloy ng batas militar sa Mindanao. Mindanao deserves better. Our soldiers deserve better. Maraming salamat po.
Alejano.
Mr. Speaker, that's a point of information to members. If any member wishes to pass his or her time to another, that member should inform the Secretariat. Kindly inform the Secretariat so that the Secretariat will know and inform the presiding officer. And a member cannot just stand and say, so and so gave me the time. So the one yielding the time will please approach the Secretariat and inform them accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Representative Alejano, you are recognized. Explain your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President. I would like to state that I support the armed forces and anything that would make them effective in the performance of their mandate. But I voted no for the extension of martial law for 1 year in the entire Mindanao region because of the following reasons. One, Marawi crisis is over and I see no legal basis for the extension of martial law for another year. Extension of martial law would run counter to the provisions of the 1987 Constitution on martial law. There is no stopping the President and the armed forces from going after terrorists even without declaring martial law. Martial law is not equivalent to combat operations. Defense and intelligence infrastructures are in place in the whole of Mindanao and were provided with operational and intelligence funds. There is no doubt that an arrest or search warrant could be secured from courts when supported with solid intelligence information. Relying on martial law to arrest a person is short of a meeting that intelligence gathering is inefficient. This could lead to shotgun approach or witch hunt. Extending martial law for 1 year is an admission that civilian authority...
Thank you, Representative Alejano. Your time
I'm going to wrap up one more point, Mr. Speaker. Without addressing the root causes of the problem in a clear and sustainable national security policy and strategy, understood and embraced not only by our security forces, but by all stakeholders, most especially we policymakers and high government officials, I can see no end to this vicious cycle of rebellion and secession in the country. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker, Senate President.
Thank you. Representative Bordado is recognized to explain your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate my thanks to the President and the Philippine military and police for decisively ending the Marawi crisis after 5 months of incessant fighting. Mr. Speaker, as I stated in the interpellation period, the President has all the resources and powers at his disposal, including his unprecedented popularity among our people to address security concerns. Mr. Speaker, let us therefore rebuild Marawi in the framework of our Constitution as enunciated in the latter part of the preamble, which seeks to establish a government that will secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of independence and democracy under the rule of law and the regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace. If we do so, Mr. Speaker, our victory in Marawi and Mindanao over these lawless elements will not only be decisive but unqualified and complete. I therefore vote no to the extension of martial law for 1 year in Mindanao.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Speaker.
Representative Bordado. Representative Belmonte Christopher is recognized to explain his vote.
Mr. Speaker, almost 5 months ago, I voted no on the extension of martial law for 150 days. And in doing so, I asked, paano kung masanay tayo at paano kung gawing indefinite ang martial law? Now, 204 days after the initial declaration of martial law, we are here voting for yet another extension of martial law over the entire province of Mindanao. Mr. Speaker, I vote no to another extension of martial law and the corresponding suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus over the whole of Mindanao, this time for a year. I vote no to the normalization of military rule and of authoritarianism. I vote no to efforts to weaken our democratic institutions. I vote no because I fear that we are falling into a pit that we may never get out of. When it was announced that Marawi was liberated from terrorist forces, the factual basis for martial law ceased to exist. It is not time for war, Mr. Speaker. It is time to heal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Brosas is recognized to explain her vote.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, mariing tinututulan ng representasyong ito ang panukalang 1 taong ekstensyon ng batas militar dahil ito ay walang batayang legal at nangangahulugan lamang ng mas marami pang kaso ng militarisasyon sa komunidad, aerial bombings, forced evacuations at iba pang mga militaristang aksyon na lumalabag sa karapatang pantao. Walang ibang tungkulin ng gobyernong ito kundi ang magbuo ng pangmatagalang solusyon sa matinding kahirapan at iba pang krisis panlipunan ng bansa at hindi ang batas militar ang sasagot dito. Alam nating lahat dito kung ano ang ibinunga ng martial law ni Marcos at hindi maikakaila sa haba ng listahan ng mga human rights violations sa Mindanao matapos ang deklarasyon ng martial law ni Pangulong Duterte na wala itong pinagbago at walang pinag-iba. Ang target nito ay to silence critics, dissent, mga iba pang different opinions, ang mga hindi kakampi ng Pangulo, layunin nito ay konsentrasyon ng kapangyarihan.
Thank you, Representative Brosas. Representative Casilao is recognized.
Inuulit po ng kasaysayan ang nangyayari ngayon. Bumoto man ang karamihan ng yes, pero ang pagtutol ay patuloy at magpapatuloy. Magluluwal ito ng marami pang paglabag sa karapatang pantao. Kayong mga hindi nakakaranas ay makakaranas. At kayo ay masisingil pagdating ng panahon. Mr. Speaker, ito ay nagbabadyang kalagayan. Martial law ito, anuman ang sugar-coated na pinapalagay at nilalagay sa request ng Pangulong Duterte. Pero ito ay martial law at batas militar. Kaya tuloy po ang pagtutol ng anak pawis at ng buong mga uring magsasaka at manggagawa sa Mindanao at sa buong Pilipinas.
Thank you. Representative Franz Castro is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mariin pong tinututulan ng representasyong ito ang extension ng martial law. Kapayapaan at kasaganaan, yan po ang ibinibidang dahilan kanina kung bakit kailangan daw na isa pang taon ng martial law. Ngunit napakalinaw na kabalintunaan sa kapayapaan at kasaganaan ang idudulot ng pagsupil sa mga karapatang sibil ng mga mamamayan. Sa loob ng 6 na buwan ay 14,000 kaso ng paglabag na karapatang pantao ang naitala. Alam ng mga mamamayang lumad at moro na sa ilalim ng martial law ay igting ang pandarambong sa likas na yaman ng kanilang mga lupang ninuno habang nakokonsentra ang kapangyarihan sa Pangulo, military at kanyang mga cronies. Ang tanging magbibigay daan sa pangmatagalang kapayapaan at kasaganahan ay ang pagtugon sa hinaing ng mga mamamayang naghihikaos. Matutugunan sana ang mga ugat ng gera at labanan sa pag-usad ng peace talks at ng pagpapatupad ng kaser. Ngunit tinilukuran ito ng administrasyon at pinili ang paggamit ng armas at militar kaysa mapayapang solusyon sa mga ugat na problema ng bayan.
Representative De Jesus, Emmy is recognized.
No ang boto ko laban sa expansion ng martial law, extension ng martial law. Malinaw na tool of repression ito patungong diktadura dahil hindi matugunan ng kasalukuyang liderato ang ugat ng ligalig at pagbalikwas ng kababaihan at mamamayan. Maliban dito, nagpapakita ito ng kahinaan ng gobyerno sa pagtugon sa kahingian ng mamamayan. Sa ilalim ng martial law extension, ginagaya ka ng bala at bomba ang pagpasok at ekspansyon ng mga lokal at dayuhang negosyo na lalong magpapahirap sa kabuhayan at karapatan ng mga kababayan natin sa Mindanao. Hinahawa ng landas para sa kakarahasan, para sa pandarambong at para sa pagyurak ng mga batayang karapatan ng mamamayan. Mr. Speaker, hindi totoong ang mga armadong rebelde at terorista lang ang target ng martial law dahil inamin mismo ng rehimeng ito ang malabnaw at subjective na pakahulugan ng public safety at rebellion. Ang totoo ay nakadireksyon ang represyon sa kahit sinong balakid sa diktadura at pag-alagwa ng negosyo. But this weak regime is waging a bloody war it cannot win. The women and the people's resistance against dictatorship and injustice will outlive Duterte's bloody martial law.
Thank you po. Representative Raul Del Mar is recognized. Explain your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I vote no for the proposed extension of martial law in Mindanao under these circumstances. No, when it clearly violates the Constitution's provision that requires that an actual rebellion or invasion before martial law can be proclaimed. The President has ample powers to suppress any threat on public order and safety without employing the emergency measure of martial law. No, when the armed forces has declared that restoration of peace and order in Mindanao and is merely bracing itself for the danger of resurgence of hostilities. The conditions portrayed by the armed forces negate the call for more martial law. No, with the end to martial law will bring back confidence of the people in their safety, give a sense of law and order again, restore normalcy in their lives. No, when there is no more justification and no more reason for extension of the existing martial law, should another martial law be sought, it should be examined on a separate merit. The conditions for the proclamation of the first martial law,
Representative
and the first extension cannot be used anymore for this new extension as the said conditions are materially and substantially known. And no, when martial law, despite its avowed goal, is a state of normalcy and uncertainty and an interregnum of aberration as it disrupts the regular functions of governance and the lives of its citizens. Thank you.
Representative Ilago is recognized to explain her vote.
Kabataan Party List vehemently condemns and rejects the extension of martial law in Mindanao. It is but a part of the tactic scheme of the regime to further consolidate its political power, continue its reign of terror in the countryside, and forward its plans to establish a full-blown fascist dictatorship in the country. The extension of martial law in Mindanao to make rehabilitation efforts easier is a false conclusion that the Duterte administration arrived at without any basis at all. If there is one thing that the extension ensures, that is the free entry of foreign investors and favors to be extended by Duterte himself to his cohorts and his foreign masters, US, China, and Russia, to name a few. He keeps on citing martial law as a special circumstance to bypass legal procedures so that foreigners can plunder the resources of Mindanao. Recently, the President himself has already declared that no bidding will be required of any project for the Marawi rehabilitation. Mr. Speaker, malinaw mula sa ating kasaysayan na ang nakinabang lamang mula sa martial law ay ang interes ng mga dambuhalang negosyo at dayuhan at diyan malayo mangyari.
Thank you, Representative Ilago. Representative Lagman is recognized. You have 3 minutes, courtesy of Representative Banal and Abaya.
Honorable Presiding Officers, an extension of the period of martial law in Mindanao, even for 1 day, much more for 1 full year, has no factual anchorage and constitutional basis. Aside from the cavalier assertion of the military and police authorities that there is, quote, a continuing rebellion, unquote, in Mindanao, there is no well-documented support for such contrived submission. Moreover, the threats of terrorism and violence in Mindanao do not constitute a constitutional ground for extension of martial law because imminent danger has been deleted by the 1987 Constitution as a ground for the declaration of martial law and its authorized extension. Any further extension of martial law is unconstitutional because such extension of an extension is not allowed under the Constitution, since what is authorized is only the extension of the original proclamation. Moreover, a series of extensions would defy the clear intent of the Constitution for a limited period of martial law and its extension, wherein the initiatory proclamation should not even exceed 60 days. Any extension is subject to the same constitutional constraints on the limited period. Consequently, I vote against the extension of the period of martial law in the entire Mindanao.
Thank you, Representative Lagman. Representative Tino, you are recognized to explain his vote.
Bumoto ako ng no, Mr. Speaker, dahil una, walang batayan ang extension ng martial law sa 1 taon. Presidente mismo ang nagsabi na under control na ang rebellion sa buong Mindanao. Sapat na ang regular na kapangyarihan ng Pangulo at ng Estado para matugunan ang sitwasyong pansiguridad sa Mindanao. Pangalawa, lalong hindi ka panipaniwala ang dahilan na binigay na kailangan ng 1 taong martial law para daw masupil, matigil ang lahat ng anumang rebellion sa Mindanao. Kahit siguro yung AFP hindi naniniwala sa mga pananalitang yon. No? Kailangan tugunan ng ugat ng rebellion para matigil ang rebellion at hindi martial law ang sasagot dito. Pangatlo at huli, tutol din tayo sa prosesong pinagdaanan. Hindi pinahintulutan ng Kongresong ito na pagdebatihan man lang ang panukalang extension ng martial law. Nagkaroon tayo ng interpellation, walang debate. Kaya po sinasabi ng marami na rubber stamp ang Kongresong ito. Yan ang mga dahilan kung bakit bumoto po tayo ng no.
Marami pong salamat. Representative Villarin, you are recognized to explain your vote. You have 2 minutes. From Representative Clarix Oy, the 1 minute additional.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Akbayan votes no for yet another extension of the factually and constitutionally impaired martial law in Mindanao, dealing a critical blow to Philippine democracy. This martial law extension will lead to a no-election scenario as COMELEC can invoke, and in fact, it has invoked last September 6, that martial law can be a basis for the postponement of an electoral exercise. Now, we have made martial law some sort of the new normal. Absent of any proof of actual invasion or rebellion, a condition required by our Constitution, martial law now desensitizes the people to wrongly equate it with good governance and democracy. Martial law now makes war as an instrument of national policy rather than the pursuit of peace, justice, equality, freedom through a negotiated peace settlement with those who rebel against government. President Duterte's war in Mindanao saw us spending 587.1 billion since martial law was declared 6 months ago. Another extension will bleed democracy and funds to fight poverty. And with the looming certainty of a charter change through a proposed constituent assembly, national elections can now be imperiled, can be postponed simply by passing a new transitory provision to declare the 2019 elections cancelled or postponed till 2022. Now with martial law that can possibly be implemented nationwide, I think this will deal a death blow to our democracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Ria Vergara is recognized.
Thank you. Though this extension is limited in scope to Mindanao, I worry of its adverse impact on the business environment and investor confidence in our country. I worry if it will truly deter the emergence of terrorist groups operating in Mindanao. I worry that the cost of imposing martial law for a longer period of time might outweigh its benefits. And I wonder, is the extension of martial law and the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus the right course of action? Is this truly the solution we are looking for at this point in time? For unless we address the poverty and lack of basic socioeconomic needs of our fellow Filipinos in Mindanao, the breeding grounds for violence and terrorism remain unchanged, even in the presence of martial law. The last 6 months have shown us that. Yet, I trust in the wisdom of our President. I trust the AFP's intelligence reports and the unwavering support for the expansion of martial law of my relatives and friends in General Santos and of my colleagues in the 17th Congress from Mindanao.
Thank you.
These form the basis for my
Vergara.
yes vote at this time. Thank you.
Representative Serati is recognized to explain his vote.
Mariin pong tinututulan ng Bayan Muna ang panibagong pagpapalawig ng batas militar sa Mindanao. Inuulit lamang ni Pangulong Duterte ang malagim at maling solusyong militar ng diktador na si Marcos. Sa ilalim ng batas militar, lalong lumaganap at lumakas ang CPP-NPA. Lalong dumami ang mga rebelding Moro. Bakit? Dahil ang pagpapataw at ng paghaharing militar ay malinaw na deklarasyon ng gobyerno na wala ng puwang ang anumang anyo ng social dissent, ng legal na protesta at paglaban. Ang hinaing ng bayan, sa halip na pakinggan, susupilin, tatakutin ang lahat. Sa katunayan, Ginoong Speaker, martial law ang #1 na recruiter ng NPA. Hindi solusyon ang batas militar sa ugat ng armadong sigalutan. Umaabante na po ang usapang pangkapayapaan ng gobyerno at ng NDF. Sa katunayan, mayroon nang nabubuong kasunduan para sa libreng pamamahagi at reforma sa lupa at industrialisasyon sa bansa. Ngunit nagulantang tayo nang matapos makausap ni US President Trump, tinerminate ni Presidente Duterte ang peace talks at dineklarang terorista ang NPA kahit hindi naman ang revolusyonaryong CPP-NPA katulad ng ginawa ng US. Ngayon, ang pinapalawig na batas militar sa buong Mindanao, idinagdag na punterya ang CPP-NPA at pagbibintangang di umano'y cuddlers, supporters at financiers. Ginoong Speaker, bilang panghuling makapagsalita po, tatapusin ko na lang po ito. Usapang pangkapayapaan, hindi po batas militar ang dapat ituloy at kailangan ng Mindanao. Huwag po tayong paggamit sa kahibangan at kahayupan ng batas militar at pasistang diktadura. Demokrasya, hindi diktadura. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker.
Marami pong salamat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, on the part of the Senate, I move that we instruct the Secretariat to draft the resolution of both houses and to authorize the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives to review and approve the resolution of both houses, and that such approval shall be valid and effective for all purposes as if the resolution of both houses was approved directly by both houses of Congress.
Is there an objection? The chair hears none. On the part of the Senate, the motion is approved.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move that we instruct the Secretariat to draft the resolution of both houses and to authorize the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives to review and approve the resolution of both houses, and that such approval shall be valid and effective for all purposes as if the resolution of both houses was approved directly by both houses of Congress.
Any objection? Here's none. On the part of the House of Representatives, the motion is approved.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, for the purposes of approving the Journal of the Joint Congress, I move that on the part of the Senate President be authorized to review and approve the Journal of the Joint Session on December 13, 2017, and that such approval be valid and effective for all purposes. As if the said journal was approved directly by the Senate, I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? The chair hears none. On the part of the Senate, the motion of the Majority Leader is hereby approved.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move that the Speaker be authorized to review and approve the Journal of the Joint Session on December 13, 2017, and that such approval shall be valid and effective for all purposes as if the said journal was approved directly by the House of Representatives.
There being no objection from the House of Representatives, the motion of the House Majority Leader for the approval of the Journal of the Joint Session on the part of the House is hereby approved.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, on the part of the Senate, I move that we adjourn the joint session of Congress.
On the part of the Senate, the joint session of Congress is adjourned.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move that we adjourn the joint session of the Congress of the Republic of the Philippines.
On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint session of Congress of the Republic of the Philippines is hereby adjourned.